Welcome to Africa's Disability Dialogues, the show that focuses on Africa's inclusive development for the disabled. I am Kinamjali Kagoya Sarah. Securing inclusive, equitable, and quality education for all, including those living with disabilities, is one of the key sustainable development goals to which Kenya has subscribed. Nonetheless, people with hearing impairment still face challenges in accessing education. But among these individuals, some remain apprehensive about this issue and focus on the goal to becoming educated individuals even despite their disability. On the show tonight, we have Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wycliffe, and also Mr. Harrison, who will help us understand the challenges they continue to face and also share with us insights to what they believe can be added to the legislative policies to address the barriers to inclusive learning. Welcome on the show, our guests. I can imagine growing up with a disability can be very difficult. Starting with Wilson, how was your experience growing up?
Thank you. Time I was born, I didn't have any problem with hearing. I was hearing well until I was 3 years old, but I became deaf because of some sickness. Then I went to hospital. I was shocked to hear that I've become deaf. Going back home, parents were positive about it. Then I thought, because I've become deaf, I went back to hospital and I had a lot of questions. 3 years old, how? I was worried. Then I was told that we have schools for the deaf. So I had to move to school for the deaf. Growing, then I went back to primary and then to high school, the same school. Then I finished my schooling. I went back home because it was a boarding school. I didn't know which college to access because I didn't have an interpreter. People didn't know sign language. So applying was very hard for me. So I asked for interpreter, but they were worried because of money, where to get money to pay for the interpreter. Then later, I got Kenyatta University, together with my friends. We schooled together, high school. And then we went to KU, Kenyatta University. I asked, where is the interpreter? Luckily, KU, we had an interpreter.
Wilson says that growing up for him at 3 years old when the disability came through, the parents were willing to support him. Was that the case for Vincent? Because we realize society needs around children with disability is something else in Africa. How was it for Vincent?
In society, many people have myths about disability. For example, me, when I was young, okay, I grew up in pain. Why? Because time I was born, I was normal. I was hearing. But when I turned 7 years old, then I became sick. I didn't know which sickness was that. Then my father was a pastor. He only prayed for me. He didn't take me to any hospital because he had faith. He kept on praying for me. Then later, we went to the hospital. Doctor said that, sorry, your son has become deaf. Then my mother and father, then later, my mother and father divorced. I went with my mother, and my mother married another person. They didn't welcome me. I understood society see me maybe as a curse. People thought that it was maybe a curse from my parents because they divorced. But I hope that one time society will come to understand.
Yeah, society needs is one of the barriers that people with disabilities continue to face every day. Harrison, on your case, while in school, did the school provide special hearing materials, for example, hearing aids, for you to be able to understand what the teacher is saying?
Yes, in my school, in Muranga, my teacher didn't know sign language, they only knew a bit. Yeah, things like cows, calves, yeah. Then I moved to Kamboi School for the Deaf. So we had teachers who knew sign language. So I had a challenge, and children too had challenges. For example, in mathematics, I didn't know, I didn't understood the challenges in understanding. So I used to try to understand mathematics in sign language. So communication was really poor. But everything, any other thing was normal, like playing. So my teacher talked about my parents. So I became, or time I closed school, I had to wait for my teacher. Exams, so yeah. So writing my exams.
With Wilson, in school you had teachers who were competent and who understood sign language. But what happened when you had to go back home and speak to your parents, siblings, play with other kids? How was it?
When I am in school, so I could grow, but when I am at home, it was very hard. It was very hard for me. Time I'm playing with the children, they could not understand any sign language. So I had to use village sign language. which you have to point so that you can be able to communicate with other children. So communication was normal because I could speak the village sign language and they could understand.
Okay. Now moving to adult life, the three of them are both in the university. Before they went to the university, in the applications, had they written that they are deaf, or there was no specific place to indicate that? Vincent?
So when I got an invitation letter at Kenyatta University, so I told them more about me. I told them that I was able differently. So they asked me, how are we going to help you here at Kenyatta University? So I told them, if it's possible, find me an interpreter. Not all, yeah. So they provided him with an interpreter.
The school itself asked Vincent, how can we help you? Yet we are talking of a society that should be inclusive for all. How did he feel at that point when he was being asked, how can we help you? Yet Vincent is just a normal citizen who has gone to an education.
At first I felt bad, but later I had to understand that that one is a university which is accessible to all people, special institution. So I accepted the idea and I had to understand. And luckily enough, they gave me an interpreter. That made my learning very easy. I didn't have any challenge.
Wow. Wilson, finding an interpreter for you also in the university, was it a hectic process? Was it easy? And the interpreter, were they always available for you when you had a class?
Yeah, it was very hard. Okay, because I'm studying ICT, so it was very hard for me to get an interpreter. So when I could tell them that I'm studying ICT, it was hard for them. But later, I got an interpreter who was studying special education. Before, I was very worried and stressed because it was very hard and I used to be late always. But my lecturer helped me and everything was okay.
He said he used to be late always. What prompted that? Was it because he was not able to hear?
Not able to hear. Yeah, because the lecturer was speaking very fast, so it was very hard for me. Yeah, because the lecturer used to speak very fast.
Okay, Harrison, these interpreters, are they competent in their work, or they would just bring in someone who knows basic sign language? Keeping in mind, computer science has very technical terms. Did they understand those words very well, or how was it maneuvering between sign language and the technical terms in the subject?
So before, Deaf Aid had very, very good interpreters. Every interpreter was there. So when I went back to KU, it was very hard. Only interpreters that understood words. So the lecturer used to speak very fast and the interpreter was a bit slow. in it.
Okay.
YouTube.
Oh.
So I used to use my YouTube to learn from there. So when the lecturer could leave, then I could change and go to my YouTube and learn there. And YouTube really helped me. Because for the interpreter, it was very hard. And I changed my interpreters to 3 interpreters. So I decided to use YouTube and learn more. So in my head exams, I was very far. And my lecturer was very happy.
Was he the only one that in the class had a hearing impairment?
They were 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. We will go for a short break and be back soon. Welcome back. This is Africa's Disability Dialogues, and I am Kinamdali Kagoya Sarah. So, talking to Wilson, from the conversation we've had, we continue to see discrimination in education and any other areas of life. Do they think there is a difference from the 20th century and now 21st century? Disability is being talked about often, but does discrimination still exist?
Discrimination is still there. I've seen a lot of people being discriminated. For the first time, I used to be discriminated too. When I went to apply, Westlands, or for the National Council for People Living with Disabilities, for the first time my family helped me. So I had a lot of challenges. Talking to people was very hard. So discrimination is still there. So when I went to Westlands, for the National Council for People Living with Disabilities, they supported me to go and get school. And then I've tried to work, but applying, people still discriminate me because hearing that I'm deaf, they could wonder, how are we going to communicate? How are you going to work with us? Then I could give up and just leave it.
Yeah, so they still face numerous discrimination every day. Harrison, in your employment life, what was it like for you? How did you speak to your colleagues? You left that kind of job. What was the reason? Was it because of your disability or you had other personal reasons?
I was employed. So when I went to apply, they told me to wait and go back the other way. So when I came back, they heard that I was deaf, and they wondered, how are we going to work together? How are we going to communicate? So they kept me for long, and they had to apply in different places, but I never got a job. It was a challenge for me. But I said I'm going to try. I applied, and it was very hard for me. And people could just keep quiet and say that you are deaf, we can't work together because of communication. So I said it was normal. I left, asked my parents, so which job am I going to do? My parents told me to continue looking for jobs or I start a business. So I started my own business, of which it was hard.
Vincent is a mentor and he loves to teach. He was telling me he loves to teach even if he has to teach someone to cook. What is his experience like? Have you also been discriminated because of your disability? How does your audience take you knowing that you're not able to speak to them audibly?
True, teaching is in my blood. I really love teaching. I started that when I was young. I said that one day that my dream will come true. And very soon I'll be a teacher. The society, there is a very big challenge always. Communication, accessibility. I've tried teaching hearing people. As possible, I can speak, but not very high. My voice is very small. So people could ask me, how are you hearing? And I say, it's use sign language, I'm deaf. But they could wonder, so how are you going to teach us? Others, when I'm teaching, they are very happy. Others, they feel, no, deaf cannot teach us. Maybe he'll teach us wrong things. How? How can you be a deaf teacher? So I could leave the hearing. Hearing people thought that it was very impossible for me to teach them. That one is the old culture that people know. So we have challenges in the area of employment because people believe that it's very impossible to work together with their hearing.
Yeah. The three of them have lived for over 2 decades. Since childhood, growing up to right now, they have faced numerous challenges and discrimination, just like they have shared with us. Harrison could help us understand maybe what does he think could be done by the Kenyan government, organizations, corporations, and maybe even the schools to be able to include these people without a struggle or them being felt left out because of their disability. What are those things that he thinks need to be incorporated?
Okay, the government has sometimes the government so writing was a problem because I didn't have an interpreter. So entering government offices, so they could doubt me because communication was hard and I could only use writing. Others could think that it's lying and I could wait for a long time. So even the drivers could wonder how can a deaf come here? So I decided to accept and go and look for other places. when I went to the National Council to tell them to help me, they told me to wait. So I could think, why is it very hard for me to get a job, and yet people are succeeding? But deaf and the hearing people are equal. If I want to get a job, it's possible for me. Oh yeah. Saying that, even in the TV, deaf people can possibly work there, but it's very hard because they don't have the speech. So it's about acceptance.
So Harrison points out clearly that even people with hearing impairment and any other kind of disability are able to be productive in their jobs like any other. And what is that one thing he thinks that institutions or the government, let's say the entire society, can do to ensure that despite their disability, they're able to be given jobs like any other person because they will deliver also?
So the government should give people with disabilities simple work, example sweeping. Yeah, to help them, to help people in traveling, in signing services. Because the government knows that deaf people do have challenges. Even the deaf can do everything, can do any work.
Wilson, does Wilson think about the same? What can the government do to bring these people on board?
It's possible. Because I entered university. The same university with the hearing people. So it's possible.
Yeah.
That we should be treated equally.
That they should be treated equally. Wrapping up the conversation, what are Vincent's thoughts on the community accepting people with disabilities? And what are his thoughts, and what should the society do to incorporate and bring these people also on board in every area of their lives?
For me, I think it's best to create awareness. To create awareness even to the parents to accept. Because we have families whose parents have not accepted disability. So if the parents have not accepted disability, how do you expect the society to accept? So the parents must accept disability at a very young age, take them to school, love them, and then the society will also accept them. Then we should create awareness. Maybe share our life challenges, experiences, make the society possible to engage with us. I believe everything is possible.
Yeah. To let our viewers know, the three gentlemen have studied to university level. Wilson and Harrison are taking their degree programs in computer technology, and Vincent is taking a degree program in education. This can show you that disability is not inability, and you can use these challenges in the society as a stepping stone for you to become a better person. Talking to Vincent, what are his final thoughts, and what would he tell a young Kenyan in the village who thinks because of his disability he cannot accomplish his goals? 1 minute.
I believe that disability, if only government makes us way, maybe have laws, implementations. So I think the government should work and push us laws that we can follow. Example, employment. The government should say like 5% of people living with disability. So I think the government should make the laws that we can be using and be following implementations. That is better.
Yeah, there are already such laws where a percentage is given to people with physical challenges, and maybe the implementation has a little bit of an oversight, but with clear policies and people who are focused, we can be able to implement this and also have these people sitting in our offices. Harrison, share with us your final thoughts and encourage someone who is sitting watching and they realize that you have been able to beat the odds, to defy the odds, and right now you're almost graduating from a public university in Kenya, that disability is not inability, and whatever they put their mind to, they are able to achieve it.
I think it's possible if you are only supported and encouraged as people who are able differently. People should go to school and graduate. So I think it's possible if we are in university. Also, people who are able differently should be going to school. So for him, it seems possible.
It is possible. 30 seconds for Wilson. What are your final thoughts? And also encourage that person who is watching you as Mr. Deaf in Kenya and also a graduate from Kenyatta University, that it is still possible.
Thank you for that question. So I want to encourage people. Some people don't know that we have opportunities outside there. So it's possible for us to work. I'm Mr. Deaf Kenya. I've been gifted, inspired, but parents think that education is the only important thing. They don't know that we always miss opportunities outside there. If it's playing football, basketball, we have different gifts. So you should show and know what you are gifted in. Maybe that's where your opportunity is. Many parents don't know. Many parents do keep their children at home, maybe hide them. So you should inform people. You should not just let them be. Inform them, take them to school. Don't just let them to marry. You'll miss opportunities outside there. You'll also be discriminated.
Yeah.
So encourage each other to go to school and learn. Many people are there to support, which is very important.
Yeah, our friends have shown us that indeed there is no barrier that can be overturned and bring forth a success. I wish we could continue, but we have to stop here for today. Thank you so much to our guests. It was so nice having you around. You have shared insights and also been able to encourage people out there that they can go beyond their disability. Thank you, and thank you again. Keep the conversation going. Same time, same place next week. Have a good night. I am your host, Kinamdali Kagoya Sarah.